system audit examination. He secured 10th rank, All India rank 10 in system audits. Other than that, he has embellished the position of chairman of Kolhapur branch for the year 2003-2004. He has been actively involved in academics as he was a part-time lecturer for MBA at Shahu Institute of Business Education and Research for 22 years, and also a part-time lecturer for BCom at Vivekananda Shikshan Samstha for 27 years. He has already been a speaker for various seminars across various branches. And recently, he is also a co-opted member for the Committee on Direct Taxes of the ICA for the year 2021-22. Now, with this short introduction, I request CA Sanjay sir to just continue with the topic.
Thank you, Kamlesh, for your kind words. Now, shall I share my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Is the screen visible now to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Shall I start?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the second webinar organized by, what should I say? It was first one was organized with respect to re-registration of charitable trust, the new ongoing process by the Tax Practitioners Association of Ratnagiri district. Now this is by the our branch of Ratnagiri plus my own Ichalkaranji branch is there. Topic today is trust as well as cooperative societies, and we are going to see recent developments as well as I'm trying to take the issue of precautions while filing the returns of charitable trust and cooperative societies, and also issues with respect to the assessment, particularly the faceless assessments. Let me start first with the trusts. As you can see, I'm presenting before you a chart as to the broad scheme of computation of income under section 11. Here you can see gross receipts, of course, excluding corpus donations, and from that you claim the deduction for expenses for earning income, and income which is not to be taxed here, which has to be taken separately. And income derived from property held under trust, section 11(1)(a) is the net figure, and thereafter we have certain deductions. Basically, we should concentrate on the deductions. Now, if you see the deductions, we have first application, which is allowed as a deduction. Then deemed application. Deemed application is explanation 1(2), that is clause 2 to explanation 1 of section 11(1), which is about not being able to utilize the income which is received at the fag end of the year, or because of some other reason you are supposed to file form 9A, and that is you can utilize it in the subsequent year. So that is called as the deemed application, explanation clause 2 to explanation 1. Then 15% basic that you always get, and secondary accumulation is section 11(2) read with section 11(5), where you carry it forward for the next 5 years. Whatever is shortfall of 85% that you carry forward, carry to the next subsequent 5 years, and wherever possible you can utilize it. You have to file form 10 for getting this accumulation benefit. Then capital gains application of capital gain, that we're going to see a little later, and anonymous donations, they are to be taken out from here because they are to be taxed separately at the maximum margin rate and under section 115 BBC. Now here you come with the additions. Now 11(1)(b), income chargeable under section 11(1)(b) is what you missed in explanation 1(2). That means you filed form 9A, wanted to accumulate, apply in the subsequent year, but you failed to apply it, then it will be taxable here. Deemed income, that is 11(2)'s violation, where within 5 years you could not utilize. So in the 6th year it becomes deemed income. Then income, business income, which is not incidental to the attainment of the objective, section 11(4)(a), and medical and education services to interested parties. We are going to see who are going to be the interested parties. So that is going to be added here, and then it becomes a net taxable income. This is the broad scheme of computation of income under section 11. I am going to take this in schedule B-TI, that is total income, in the actual form in ITR 7. Now let us start with ITR 7, precautions in filing ITR 7. Let us start with one by one. I'm going to take the relevant schedules in proper ITR, which I'm going to present before you, and accordingly we are going to see that, or rather what are the issues involved with that we are going to see. Starting with the importance of filing of the return. Clause 12A gives us conditions for availing exemptions under section 11. Firstly, that you should apply for registration. Now under the new scheme, you should apply for registration under the section called clause CA. Second is that you have to get the books of account audited, file form 10B. That is the second condition under 12A. And third condition is this, that you have to file the return within the time specified in section 139(4)(a). Now, what is the time specified in under section 139(4)(a) is a slightly matter of debate, in the sense the assessee, the wording of this section is that the assessee should file the return under section 139(4)(a) if he is to claim the exemption under section 11 within the time limit given under that section. Under that section, it doesn't talk of under that subsection. So I have been interpreting it like this, but CPC is not agreeing with me, or I am in difference with the CPC. CPC says that you have to file within due date for 139(1), that is our 31st October, or extended now 30th November. But my interpretation is that this section 139(4)(a) speaks of within the time limit given under that section. Now under this 139 section, there is also section 139(4) and there is also section 139(5). Now 139(4) is a revised return, 139(5) is a belated return. Now belated return can be filed up to 31st December for this assessment year, and the subsequent assessment year, this year extended time is 31st January. And for earlier years, it was up to 17-18, 1 year from the end of the assessment year, and 17-18 onwards, that is 18-19, 19-20 and 20-21 up to the end of the assessment year. So that was the time limit given as per belated return. So there is a case to argue that when the wording used in section 139(4)(a) is of within the time limit given in that section, so we are talking of section 139, where 139 gives the maximum limit as per belated return mechanism. So accordingly, it should be allowed is my argument, but CPC does not accept it. CPC goes by the due date as per 139(1), and accordingly your eligibility for exemption is determined. So if you do not file within the due date under section 139(1), what all you lose? You lose all these three. That is form number 10, accumulation, you will be losing. 9A, accumulation, I just told you explanation, clause 2 to explanation 1, explanation 2 to section 11(1). That is, if you receive the amounts or funds at the fag end of the year, you are not, by any reason, you are not able to use the funds in that year, then you may use it in the subsequent year. That is accumulation by filing form 9A, and that also you will lose. And of course, section 11 exemption you will lose. Now, losing of exemption for a particular year, or rather we would say like this, that if you fail to file a return for a particular year, you lose the exemption only for that year. It doesn't have any effect on those years, on those subsequent years, so to say, where otherwise your return has been filed under section 139(1) within the due date. That means the delay will have the implications, repercussions only for that particular year and not for other earlier or subsequent year. That is one. And the last issue with respect to this is, what if the delay is on account of reasonable cause? What is the solution? In fact, section 139(4)(a), or we have seen section, we discussed about section 12A, clause BA, or any other section for that matter in the Income Tax Act as such, we do not have the mechanism for getting the benefit of a reasonable cause. So if the delay is, even if because of the reasonable cause, the problem is that the system will not realize or recognize what is the reason for reasonable cause. Or even for that matter, you are under 143(3) and you plead before the AO that there was a reasonable cause for filing the delayed return. So this is a reasonable cause, and even if the AO accepts that the cause is definitely reasonable, I don't think that he has any powers to condone the delay anyway and grant you exemption under section 11 because of the specific wordings in clause BA of subsection 1 of section 12A. The only remedy as it appears to be is that to apply to CIT exemption under section 119 2B and get the delay condoned, and if and only if the delay is got condoned from the office of the CIT exemption, which is our jurisdictional CIT exemption of Pune, then and then only we will be able to be in this section 11 exemption if the returns are filed late. There otherwise do not appear any other mechanism to claim the exemption. So the only way out is to apply under section 119 2B to the jurisdictional CIT exemption, that is our CIT exemption Pune. Now, one of the important thing we saw that if you are claiming, you have to choose a proper section while filing the return, and that is why I'm using this slide. If you are going to claim exemption under section 11, then you have to file the return choosing 139(4)(a) as option. And there are another scenario where you are filing the return claiming the exemption under section 1023C, III, AB, AC, AD, or AE, or for that matter other subsections 4, 5, and 5, 6 and 6, 5A and 6 of section 1023C, then you have to choose section 139(4)(c). So we have 139(4)(a) for section 11, and we have 139(4)(c) for section 1023C. So 4A and 4C, you have to make a proper choice. These days, because of online filing and online processing and going faceless everything, now our selection of a particular tab has become far more important, and just because we select a wrong tab, we are landing into a lot of problems and with heavy demands because of rejection of section 11 exemption or section 1023C exemption. So you have to be very particular. So I am going to be little in detail so far as the options to be chosen and clauses and the sections and the codes. So 139(4)(a) and 139(4)(c, section 11 exemption we are talking, and section 1023C exemption we are talking, 139(4)(a) and 139(4)(c). Now, what is the status? Our status is, first of all, we are AOP or BOI. Then if the state of AOP, if the shares are determinate, then the slab rates applicable to individual will apply as per 167B. And if the shares are not determinate, then maximum marginal rate applies. Today's maximum margin rate is not 30%, it is 42.74%. So this is the typical scenario. Now, trust is charged at the slab rate because trust or a society, you are registered under a independent act. You are either as a society or registered under the Societies Registration Act, or as a trust you are registered under the Bombay Public Trust Act. So if you are a registered entity under any of these acts, then as per the specific, even if you see the instructions, then, and even if you see the CPC had issued one document giving the details as to how the return is to be filed or ITR 7 is to be filed. They have issued this only for ITR 7 and not for any other ITR. ITR 1 to 7, in may say only ITR 7 is the maximum complicated ITR, and we have to really understand it properly. And this, as we understand this or as we apprehend this, the same is the apprehension by the CPC, and accordingly they have chosen to issue a separate document kind of PPT for filing ITR 7. And in this PPT also, or in this document also, they say that if you are registered under these any of these acts, then the slab rate will apply and you will not be liable for maximum marginal rate. Now ITR 5, ITR 7, ITR 6, company ITR 6, no discussion. But if you are claiming exemption under section 139(4)(a), exemption under section 11, or if you are claiming the exemption under section 1023C, section 139(4)(c), then you must file ITR 7. But if you are otherwise not eligible for exemption under section 1023C, you are not falling in III, AB, AC, AD, or AE, and you don't have any approval to claim or go under 139, to 1023C, 5A and 6, then You don't have 11, you don't have 1023C, but then in that case, you cannot file return choosing 139.4A, or you cannot file return choosing 139.4C. And because that being the case, then the only option that is left with you is to file ITR 5. Now, what is the benefit of filing ITR 5 and not filing ITR 7? One has to understand this. If you file ITR 7, say for example, you are not eligible for 1023C, your gross receipts are say more than 5 crore rupees, and you are not registered under section 12A. Or suppose you are a temple with no registration, you don't go to 1023C at all, and you are an old ancient temple, a trust registered under Societies Registration Act, and you don't have registration under section 12A so far. In that case, which is the form in which you should file the return? Is it ITR 7 or is it ITR 5? The answer is clear. It is ITR 5, because if you go and file ITR 7, then in ITR 7 you have to give the details of your registration. If the details of registrations are not given because you are not registered, that means you are not eligible for section 11 exemption. You are not eligible for section 1023C exemption as per the information in the ITR 7 filed by you. Then your entire income by default CPC goes with maximum marginal rate, and that is how CPC charges it. And they have specifically said so in the instruction. They have specifically said so. So therefore, in such a scenario, it would be advisable, or rather it would be very necessary for all of us to understand that in such scenario we should file ITR 5. आता ITR 5 म्हणजे the same return form which you file for partnership firm or LLP. You have to give the profit and loss account, you have to give the balance sheet, you have to calculate, make the computation of income, and then offer the income. The benefit of filing ITR 5 is that you will get deduction of expenses incurred for earning the income, that you will make the computation. Then the slab rate that will be applicable to you as AOP BOI, but because you are registered under the Societies Registration Act or Bombay Public Trust Act, so you will be liable to or eligible for the concessional rate which is applicable to the individuals. So this is the, and then whatever tax liability that you have to bear because you are otherwise not eligible for exemption. But instead of going into the problems of by filing ITR 7, it would be always advisable to take a calculated way out in filing returns of such charitable trust in ITR 5 and not in ITR 7. Okay, now this is the status. This is the status that you can see, you can select. The yellow one is last year's ITR 7, ITR 7 for assessment year 2021. And the right hand side, the white one, is for assessment year 21-22. Now, what is the difference? The difference is not there because first and third item is remaining the same. First and the last item remains the same in both the years. But in this year, in the drop down box, you have to select the status, main status, the AOP BOI, but the sub status has to be either of these. Now you have given the in between two statuses, they have been clubbed together. And now there is only one trust. Are you a public charitable trust? They are simply asking, are you a public charitable trust? So your society or any other law or a public charitable trust or any other AOP or BOI. So out of these three, you have to choose one. Either you are a public charitable trust or you are a society registered under the society registration or on any other law for the time being. So mostly if you are filing ITR 7, you should be choosing the public charitable or society. And if you are going for this thing, then accordingly the status has to be chosen. Now, what are the important schedules? Now we go with ITR 7, and in ITR 7, which are the important schedules that one must look at while filing ITR 7. Now these are the important schedules. For if you are claiming exemption under section 11 or 1023C 4, 5, 5A or 6, then in that case schedule AI is the most important schedule where you give the details of all your gross receipts, gross incomes you have to give. We are going to see it in detail. If you are claiming exemption under section 1020C triple IAB or triple IAC, then you have to file schedule I3. Or if you are filing it under schedule triple IAD or triple IAE, then schedule IE4, income exempt 3 or income exempt 4. These are the most important schedules which we are going to see in detail as to what are these schedules. Before going into the actual schedules, those income schedules, let me take some procedural aspects. Now here there is some important change so far as the registration details to be given, and those I have tried to highlight by yellow. Now you can see here that section under which you are registered approved, these I think first four are regular. They were there earlier also. What I am interested in drawing your attention to is the subsequent these 4. Now these are new additions. What are these new additions? Then whether application for registration is made as per new provisions. Now the new provisions are going on, and we are going to file our returns latest by say 30th of November, that is the extended due date. Audit reports are to be filed by 31st of October. The return can be filed up to 30th of November. These are the extended due dates for this year. And you have to give the details of application file under the new procedure. Now this is here that what is the application, whether you find, say yes, section under which the registration is applied. Have you applied under section 11 or section 1023C? Please give this. Date on which the application has been made, give the date, and what is the section exemption opted for under new provisions. So which section you have opted for. Now this section is 12AC, right? Section 12A-AC, and here you have to give section 11 or section 1023C, whatever section you have chosen, right? And this is with regard to the registration under the Income Tax Act, registration approval under the Income Tax Act. ATG also you have to write here, and here your Bombay Public Trust Act or Society Registration Act, those act details have to be given. Please be careful. You are going to choose. Suppose you are going to choose that you are registered as a society, then you must give the details as a society registration here. If you are registered under the Bombay Public Trust Act, you are ticking that particular box we saw in the status, then you must give the details here. Now, if you miss out this, then you are likely to have the contradiction in 2 fields in the same ITR form. And CPC, we all know that CPC is very ruthless in the sense that even the smallest of the small contradiction, nothing will be tolerated, and they will be jumping directly to taxing your all gross receipt with the maximum marginal rate. So therefore, my intention is to draw all of our attention to these types of fields where there is interconnection between these 2 fields. We saw the status, you must give the details here. You are choosing 139.4A, give the exemption here. If you are choosing 139.4C, give the details of approval here. So you choose a particular tab, and put the additional information relating to that has to be given in a particular field, particular form, or particular table of the same ITR. If that is missing, then it is taken as a internal contradiction, and you are likely to lose the exemption. So you be careful about filling this particular schedule. So this is the part of the instructions that I have copied over here. Just for you to understand, here is this. If you can see my cursor, then return furnished under section, you have to tick this particular. This is a part from the, this particular part is from the ITR 7, and this particular part is from the instructions. So 139, if you are claiming exemption under section 11, instructions tells you that you choose 139.4A. And if you are claiming exemption under section 1023C, all these sections are here, then you choose 139.4C. That's what I was talking. So you tick an appropriate box, 139.4A or 139.4C. Now here, please specify the section under the exemption claim and drop down to be provided. This is what is the manual or the physical ITR 7 form. So this is what the selection that you need to make, and you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful in choosing this particular section, right? Now, in the general information, in part A, the last line is this: whether you are liable to tax at maximum margin rate under section 164, if disallowable under section 13(1)C or 13(1)T. Now, many a times a question is asked that if I have income, and why should my income be taxed at maximum margin rate? Or just now we discussed that if you are a society registered under the Societies Act, or if you are a public charitable trust registered under the Bombay Public Trust Act, and you find the intimations where CPC is charging 30% tax rate. Okay, whether that is right or wrong, the answer is given by this particular question in the ITR 7 itself. You don't have to look at any other place. What does ITR 7 say? ITR 7 in this question says that maximum marginal rate under section 164 in case of society registered under the Society Registration Act or a Bombay Public Trust Act, whether you are claiming exemption under section 11 or section 1023C, the maximum marginal rate will apply only with respect to income which is attracting disallowance under section 13(1)C or 13(1)D, that is benefit or any facilities which are providing to the interested parties. That alone income is liable to maximum marginal rate and no other income is liable to maximum marginal rate. Otherwise, you are eligible for slab rate which are applicable to individual. This also is getting cleared in this question. So wherever we have this, then we have to go for this, but very rarely we use this. But by default, this should be, answer should be no. And if this answer is no, there will not be any chance that you will be liable to maximum marginal rate or 30%. Now we will see the schedules one by one. All important schedules we are going to schedule VC, we are going to schedule schedule AI, we are going to see schedule ER, EC, and then schedule TI. These are the important schedules which I am going to discuss before you. Yes. Now this is schedule VC. You can see here. Please see my cursor. Voluntary contributions to be mandatorily filled in by all persons filing ITR 7. If you are filing ITR 7, then you must give the details of this. Okay. Now here we are mostly concerned with corpus donations. Here we have to give an A1, and other than corpus donations, and here you can see that grants received from government, grant received from companies under corporate social responsibility CSR, other specific grants and other donations. All these things have to be filled here because this information is to be given by all the parties, all the particular parties, right? So accordingly, you have to choose this and give the information. Foreign contribution, FCRA, if you are registered, then whatever details you are there, you have to give. And anonymous donations also, you have to give the details here. That's fine. But mostly I would like you to pay attention to this particular thing, that voluntary contribution VC has to be filled in, and the details of donations and the grants have to be given here by all the assessees, so to say, who are going to file, choosing to file ITR 7. This is with respect to schedule VC. Now schedule AI, income other than from donations and contributions. Now income from donations and contributions in schedule VC and income other than from donations and contributions must be entered in schedule AI, and not in, the important point is not in specific heads of income, not in specific heads of income. Please understand everybody, here is where we are making the problem, particularly with respect to income from house property, rental income, and income from other sources. Because ITR 7, if you see, it has all the heads. It has income from business, it has income from house property, it has income from capital gains, and it has income from other sources. All these three schedules, all these schedules are there, just like they are in ITR 4, ITR 5, ITR 6. They are there in ITR 7. So, but you are not supposed to enter, when you are filing ITR 7, you are claiming exemption under section 1023C or you are claiming exemption under section 11, then please understand this, that income from donations and contributions, they will go to schedule VC, voluntary contributions, but all other income, say you have rental income, it will not go to income from house property schedule. You have bank interest, FD interest, it will not go to income from other sources. Please don't enter it here over there. You have other place, specific place, that is schedule AI in ITR 7. Here you have to give one. Here you have to give, this is schedule AI. Simple. Here you have everything. See, rent is there, interest income is there, agriculture income is there. Everything is here. So those income which we talk of, like income from house property, income from other sources, they are not supposed to be entered at the respective head which is otherwise there. But you are required to report it here. The main problem is that we report it here, or we also report it there, or instead of reporting here, we report under the respective schedule. Then if you report on the respective schedule, then it is taken for taxation, because that is considered not eligible for exemption at all. That is not considered. Your software may calculate your software may calculate as exempt income, because entire income, 10 lakh income, everything is claimed under section 11 as exempt, or 1023 is exempt, and therefore you are not liable for any tax liability is calculated zero by the respective software. That is fine, but software may do this, but CPC will not do that. CPC will see that you have income which is reported under the income from house property or income from other sources, it will be taken for tax. So be careful. You have to report that income here. Okay. Now, going here, item number 8, I will just attract your attention to that item number 8. Net consideration on transfer of capital asset. In case of charitable trust, when you transfer a capital asset, section 11 in bracket cap 1 capital A bracket complete, that is section 11 1A gets attracted. And in this, what is the mechanism for income deemed for capital asset? That is net consideration minus consideration utilized for acquiring the capital asset. That means if you acquired the capital asset, entire consideration has been used for acquiring another capital asset, then entire capital gain is exempt under section 11(1) capital A. But if you fall short, suppose 100 rupees your net consideration and you have utilized only 60 rupees for acquiring the new capital asset, then whatever is the 60 rupees in excess of the cost of the asset transferred, and 60 rupees which is in excess of the cost of the asset transferred. Suppose the asset which I have transferred, suppose it is a vehicle, I had purchased is for 10 lakh rupees, but now the return on value of that asset in my books is 50,000 rupees, but I have sold it for 25 rupees. Then 60 minus 25, 35 rupees is what is deemed to be income under section 11(1)(a). So net consideration on transfer of capital asset is to be written over here, and I will show you where the acquisition is to be shown. So schedule IA, I suppose I hope I'm clear, and I'm saying it to be filled by all the assessees claiming exemption under section 11(12) or under section. Here please understand again that 1023C, III, AB, AC, AD or AE. What are these trusts? We are going to see little later, but just now I'll tell you, those are the charitable trusts which are exclusively engaged in providing education or medical relief. They are institutions providing education or medical relief, and they are either substantially financed by the government, that is more than 50% government grants, or gross receipts of the entire trust is less than 5 crore rupees. That also we are going to discuss little later. The first condition that you are exclusively engaged in education or medical relief, and the second is either of the two, that is, one, you are substantially financed or gross receipt less than 5 crore rupees. In those cases, schedule AI is not to be filled. Please understand this. In those cases, schedule AI is not to be filled. For them, it is schedule IE3 or IE4. That we are going to see little later. But here, please understand that first thing I told you, that rental income, interest income, other sources, it will not go to the respective head for claiming exemption. When you are claiming exemption under section 11 or 12 or 1023C, it will come in schedule AI. But it will not come even in schedule AI if you are claiming exemption under section 1023C, AB, AC, AD and A. Okay, so that we are going to see little later. Here we are. This is ITR 7 from the tax base. I have the screenshot. That particular software I am showing. Okay, now coming to schedule ER. That is expenditure revenue. We saw the income part. I am taking you now to the expenditure part. All right. Income part we saw schedule AI. We saw the income part. Income part we had two parts, but basically schedule VC and schedule AI. Schedule VC is only donations and contributions and government grant. Schedule AI, all other income which will not go to the respective head but will come here if you are section 11 or section 1023C1. Now I am taking you to the expenditure part, those schedules in the ITR 7. Here ER, expenditure of revenue nature. Now please understand this carefully. Establishment and administrative expenses. You will get all the heads here. Okay, so schedule ER part A, A1 to A1 to A15, we get all expenses which are of the establishment administrative expenses. Now, 2 or 3 things very important. For one, at least one thing important: depreciation and amortization cost which is not already claimed as application is same or any other previous year. So if application if an acquisition of a capital asset, if it has been claimed as an application, then section 11(6) with effect from assessment year 15-16 does not or debars you from claiming depreciation on such assets. Section 11(6) subsection 6 of section 11 with effect from assessment year 15-16, if you have claimed the acquisition of asset as application of income, under section 11, then you will not get the double deduction under section 11(1) so far the depreciation is concerned. That is with respect to this. So, but still they are having this because there may be some asset on which you are not claimed depreciation. On those assets you can claim the depreciation, and therefore this clause is there. So we are going to see in a different scenario as to where or in which scenario you can still claim the depreciation little later. But just I wanted to highlight that this column is still there, and we must understand the meaning or the significance of this particular clause in schedule ER. Now going further in schedule ER, this continues. We just saw in schedule ER part 1 establishment and administrative expenses. There we are having all these things, and now we are going to part B, expenditure on the object of this trust. First is establishment administration, next is expenditure on the object of the trust. Please understand, expenditure on the object of the trust. Donations, religious, vagara, all these objects, and you have to specifically put your application under the respective, in front of the respective particular column, particular line, medical relief, yoga, education, whatever. Now, part C, look at very interesting. Part C, normally we don't see this in so much of details. Bad debts, disallowable expenditure. The bad debts provisions, donation forming part of corpus fund. Now, donation forming part of corpus fund, specifically they have been disallowed. So here you have to give these donations. Bad debts they are not allowing you. Please understand. Now, this is something which I don't agree with. That why the bad debt should not be allowed as a deduction or as an application of income. But income tax form or ITR 7, so to say, is not in sync with the income tax provisions, income tax act provisions or income tax rules. It is something more. It is something more that also I am going to discuss a little later. But here they are not allowing bad debts. So we have part C now. Part D, total. Part D is, please look here, A16, B10 and C. Right. This is the total of all. Now here they are taking D. In D they are taking entire total. Now part is very interesting, which all of us must know. Source of fund to meet revenue expenditure. Where पैसे कुठून आले की हे सगळा तुम्ही खर्च केला. Now त्यातला clause 1 जो आहे तो नेहमीच आहे. Income derived from property, income earned during the year. So whatever is income from this year, of that whatever expenditure on establishment or on the object I have made. Okay, fine. Number 2, look here. Income deemed as application in preceding year under clause 2 of explanation 1. That is, explanation 1 to clause 2 deemed as application means you filed form 9A and you decided that I will apply this income, but since you have not, that has been deemed as application in earlier year, that expenditure corresponding to that application, that expenditure will not be considered here. You understand? So suppose last year you received grant on 31st March at 10 lakh rupees. Now there you filed form 9A. So because you filed form 9A, it is considered as deemed application. Now this 10 lakh rupees you have spent this year. Now will this be an application of this year? No, because it has to go, because it relates to that deemed application, and therefore it is not to be considered here as application. It has to be removed. Income of earlier years up to 15%. Yes, this is something interesting. So every year out of 100 rupees, we are supposed to spend 85 rupees, and 15% we are allowed permanently to accumulate. But if you spend anything out of this 15 rupees as application in this year, they say that we are not going to allow you that as application. It is nowhere written in the Income Tax Act. It is nowhere in the Income Tax Act. It is nowhere in the income tax rules. No court has ruled in this favor, but the form is this, that if you utilize, if you make any application out of this remaining 15%, which is allowed to be permanently accumulated by me, and from that you spend anything, then this will not be considered to be an application. Now, how this can be calculated is another thing, because our funds are normally mixed. If this belongs to 15% of earlier years and this belongs to current year, say 100 rupees, it's not possible to bifurcate, and it is very difficult also. Practically, it is difficult to understand and report here. But this clause is there. This clause is there that the department says that if you spend anything out of this 15% permanently accumulated funds of the past years, then that we will not allow you to claim as application. That is something very borrowed funds. Now, if you spend something out of borrowed funds, then that is also not considered to be application of this year's application of this year, because this is not from out of the income earned, income contributions received. It is from the borrowed funds. Now, with respect to this, now borrowed funds, and before I talk about the borrowed fund, please understand total income applied. How are they calculating on revenue account? What is the A16? We saw A16 is establishment expenses. Now B10 is what? B10 is this expenditure on the object of the 10. Then from that, they please understand here, they are not taking C in the total. Disallowable expenditure, they are not taking in the total. So though it is coming in D, it is not coming in F. That means, in short, it is not considered as application. Whatever is mentioned in C is not considered as application. And A16 and B10 ka jo total hai, from that they are reviewing these 4 items. This is here. E2, that is, which is spent out of deemed application of earlier years. 10 lakh mein se abhi kharcha kiya. Last year we received and now we spend. E3, out of 15% permanently occupied. Borrowed funds, E4, that is also reduced. And E5, any other. So what they are taking as application is this: A16, establishment expenses, administrative expenses; B10, expenditure on the object of the trust; C, not taken, it is not considered as application; and A16 or B10 minus all these 4, that is deemed application ka kharcha, permanent 15%, borrowed funds, and any other thing. So these all is reduced, and then F is getting calculated. This is what is the mechanism of calculating expenditure revenue considered as application for section 11(1)(a). This is what I want you to highlight. Now let us come to EC, that is schedule expenditure of capital nature. Expenditure capital nature. Here also this is to be filled by section 11 and 12 exempt companies, and 1023C, 4, 5, 5, 6 and 6A, not III, AB, AC, AD and AE, not उन्होंने भरना नहीं है. Now here you see, here you can see addition to capital work in progress. Yes, building construction, acquisition of capital asset. Acquisition of capital asset not claimed as application under section 11(1)(a). Now 11(1)(a) is a capital gain wala, which I discussed. Whatever you claim here, 11(1)(a), you have transferred a capital asset, there is an income, and then new asset you are acquiring, then 11(1)(a) makes the calculation mechanism that that type of capital asset which is acquired out of the transfer funds of another capital asset is to be mentioned in section 3, in subclause 3, and usko chhod ke jo assets hai, those are to be mentioned here. Other capital expenditure, and again sources of fund to meet the capital expenditure. देखिए यहाँ income deemed as application, that is again 15% नहीं लेंगे, borrowed funds नहीं लेंगे, और देखिए 5 minus A2, A3, A4 and A5, A2, A3, A4 and A5, everything is getting reduced, and then only income is considered for schedule AC. So schedule ER and schedule EC is what is the total of your all application. Schedule ER and schedule EC is the total of all your application, and that is how 85% is determined. That is how the total of this is compared with required 85%. So this is schedule AC and schedule ER. Now here we are. 1023C triple schedule IE3, income exempt under section income exempt 3. Now triple IAB and triple IAC, we are substantially financed, educational or medical institutions. Substantially financed as per rule 2C, more than 50%. 50% or more that we are financed by the government, state government or central government, right? Now you are substantially financed by state government or central government. How they will accept your claim that you are financed substantially by the central government or state government? Because to avail any grant from the state government or central government these days, you are supposed to register yourself in one portal called Darpan portal. And you must have, Darpan is a portal launched by the Niti Aayog, and there you must have that registration, and that registration you must mention here, are you registered under any? So those details you must give over there. Darpan registration you must give over there, and there you give and you will be considered here. Again, this is an interconnection where there should not be any contradiction in the respective field. So here we are, that here you can see here that objective of the institution, either here there will be drop down, are you educational or medical, address where activity is carried in, you give the address, total receipt including voluntary contribution, जो भी है आपका contribution दे दो, because you are always already filing, because schedule VC we saw voluntary contributions where you are giving corpus donation, non-corpus donation, government grants, other specific, and everything we are giving schedule VC, and schedule VC is to be filed by all charitable trusts who are filing ITR 7. So I am filing ITR 7, I must give that even if I am exempt under 1023 III AB or 1023 2023 III AC. So I have to give here, and government grants out of here. Now here itself it will calculate, are you above 50% or not? And if you are not above 50%, here itself you will lose the exemption, and again gross receipt will be liable to be taxed, which are you are mentioning here total receipts. That is the problem. So you be careful, and balance accumulated you have to automatically calculate over here. Now similarly schedule IE4. Here there is no question of government grant, because here there is no question of government grant, because here we are not talking of substantially financed by the government, but we are talking about the gross receipts. Now here they are asking you gross annual receipts. Look here, and those gross annual receipts have to be less than 1 crore rupees up to assessment year 21-22, and now it has this 1 crore rupees has been enhanced to 5 crore rupees. That we are going to see in the latest amendment, but that 5 crore rupees is for the entire trust as such. 1 crore was per institution, but 5 crore is for the entire trust. But very interesting is that these schedules have remained as it is in ITR 7. They are asking please fill up separate schedule for each institution in this thing. Now I want you to understand this, that this schedule is to be filled separately for each institution. That means here itself it gets clear, and because of the amendment also it is getting further clear that the 1 crore limit is per institution. Now you don't have to go to any law, Karnataka High Court and all those things, just forget that. Now everything is getting simply abundantly clear here, that yes, here you have to give institution wise, and each and every institution means what? Suppose you are a trust and having 5 schools, each of the school is substantially financed by the government, no problem. Each of the institution gross receipts is less than 1 crore rupees, no problem. So you can claim the exemption here and accordingly be done with this. This is schedule IE4. So schedule IE3 and schedule IE4 is this you should utilize when you are claiming 1023C III AB, 1023C III AC, or 1023C III AD, 1023C III IE. सगळ्यांना अतिशय व्यवस्थितरित्या हे सगळं माहिती असू द्यात, because I have filed so many appeals where I see unnecessary we have gone into litigation when otherwise the things were ekdam simply simple. I have appeals with demands of 7 crore rupees, 8 crore rupees, 110 crore rupees and what not. But just because we failed to choose the exemption of 1023C III AB, substantially financed by the government, we are receiving all government grant, but unfortunately we did not choose this and we went for section 11 and whatnot. Everything has happened, and therefore choosing the proper section, choosing the proper schedule, choosing the particular proper tab must be understood by all of us very carefully, very correctly, and if that is done, there will not be any problem even for the CPC to process our return at nil, right? So let's be careful about this. Okay, now going further, I'm taking it now schedule TI, where 85% of income is not applied or not deemed to be applied, but is accumulated. Here I am talking of section 11.2 that you have to file form 10 and you can get the benefit of carrying forward the accumulation for subsequent 5 years, and accordingly you can claim, or rather you can defer the application. But of course you have to file form 10 before the due date, and only if the form 10 is filed before the due date for filing the return to 139 then you are eligible to claim the deduction. All right, but the amount which is not, that I'm talking now here of 15%, 15% is permanent accumulation. 15% is permanent accumulation, and in this permanent accumulation there is a separate column. I'm telling you that there are 3 different types of accumulations. Clause 2 to explanation, explanation 2 to subsection 11.1, that is filing of form 9A, where income received at the end of the year could not be spent in this year, but I'm spending in the next year. 15% permanent accumulation, and just we saw section 11.2, that is next 5 years. So these are 3 different accumulations where we have to claim the exemption respectively. 15%, 11.2, and explanation 2 to clause to section 11.1. So you just see it here, where it will go, which things will go to which place. Now, yeah, I have not replaced this. This is for 31st March 19 is set. This schedule is 31st March 19, but there is no hardly any change in ITR 21 because the numbering has remained the same. So I have chosen the same thing. But you can see here. Now here, this is important. What we all saw from there, now schedule VC we saw, schedule AI we saw, schedule ER we saw, and schedule EC we have seen, and also we have seen schedule IE3 and schedule IE4. Okay, all these schedules we have seen, and now we are coming to the summary part of it. We are coming to the summary part. From all those schedules, the respective figures are going to come over here. Now you can see here voluntary contribution, schedule VC, voluntary contribution other than corpus, again schedule VC. So the 2 things have come here. Then here it is coming from item number 10 of schedule AI. Okay, 11, 12, 10 to the 3, 4, 5, 6, and all those things. All these people, schedule AI from here it will come. And now we are talking of application C, schedule ER, amount applied, revenue account, schedule EC, amount applied, capital account. Then देखिए, this is coming directly here. It is not coming from any schedule. So that is why it is highlighted. Amount applied during the previous year, revenue, capital account, repayment of loan. So they have, see, borrowed funds, application from borrowed funds is not considered as application. But you had application by way of borrowed funds, and those borrowed funds are repaid, then they are accepting as application. So it has to be filled in directly over here. This figure will not come from any schedule. It will come here directly, and if there is a repayment of loan, not necessarily bank loan, it can be trustee's loan, it can be repayment of deposit, whatever is borrowable, you can make it here, you can mention it here, and accordingly you can take the benefit of that calculation of 85%. Now, look here. Clause 2 of explanation to section 11.1. This is at 9A. 9A means I received 10 lakh rupees at the fag end of the year and I am spending next year. So it is asking you, yes, whether option in form 9A has been selected, then give the date. And you will, this will be considered deducted here. And this is deducted here as deemed application. So we have seen in schedule ER and EC that iska jo application in this next year hai, wo nahi aayega either, because it is deemed application here. Okay, this is one. Then next, this is permanent accumulation, does not exceed 15%. First accumulation, second accumulation, that is does not exceed 15%. That 15% is a cumulative application. Okay, restricted to the 15% of 2 plus 3 above. 2 plus 3 is this and this, iska 15%. 2 is voluntary contributions other than corpus and other income, AI said. So uska 15% will be calculated here automatically. If you spend more, then it will be calculated less automatically. Now I have seen some cases where the 143(1)(a) query has been raised, that suppose I have received 100 rupees and of that instead of 85 rupees I have spent 95 rupees. So I have written 95 here, the total of 2 and 3 is 95, but accumulation I have written 15 rupees here. Accumulation I have written 15 rupees because that is what is allowed. Now typically what should happen? If the total of 2 and 3 is 100, then what should happen is that whatever is 1, 2, 3, 4, out of that whatever is gone, 1, 2, 3 जो भी जाता है उसका, suppose 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3 is say 90, then please write only 10 here. Don't write 15 again here, because 90 plus 15 will become 105. This 105 will be compared with the total of 2 and 3, and then again they will raise a query. There is a mismatch. You will receive intimation. So be careful. If you say na कि मैंने 90 रुपए खर्चा किया है, then permanent accumulation is only 10 rupees. Permanent accumulation will not be 15 rupees because you already spent 90 rupees. If you already spent 19 rupees, then you cannot claim 15 as permanent accumulation, and therefore be careful. 2 और 3 का total अगर 100 rupees है, then 41, 42, 43 उसका अगर 90 रुपए है, तो 445 आपका 10 रुपए आना चाहिए, 15 रुपए नहीं तो it will be internal contradiction. Be careful. Now this is the third accumulation, that is subsection 2 of section 11, 5 साल के लिए you have to file form 10. Okay, then 11(1)(c) is not applicable. This is application for international approval and all those things, but that is not important. But what I wanted to tell you in this chart, this chart, please be careful about this chart. Once again I will explain this. Voluntary contribution which are not taken, which are just coming here, they will not come anywhere else because they are corpus donation, they are exempt under section 11(1)(d). Application का कोई सवाल नहीं, application का सवाल अभी आने वाला है in this amendment, but that we will see in the subsequent this thing. But here, other than corpus, into other income, rent, interest वगैरह वगैरह जो भी है, that will come over here. So schedule VC plus schedule AI दोनों का total 2 plus 3, and then we have 41, 42, 43 as actual application, which includes even repayment of the borrowed funds, and then we have 3 deemed applications or 3 accumulations. Permanent 15% जो यहाँ आ रहा है 4-5 में, then deemed application clause 2 of explanation to section 11(1), that is could not spend now but spending next year, form 9A भरा है, and the last one is 11(2), that is form 10 भर के 5 साल के लिए we are carrying it forward. So these are 3 deemed applications. So accordingly your working is done, and now here we are the other part. Now we saw everything. What is your income, what are your deductions, and what are the additions. Now additions also to be seen properly. Look here. Corpus donation to other trusts or institution chargeable as per explanation 2. So this also we are going to see little later, but the short point here is that if you are giving any donation or any contribution to any other fund as corpus donation, उसमें क्या होता है? You claim as application, and the other trust, it being a corpus donation for them, they don't have any need of any application because section 11(1)(d) का उनको exemption मिलेगा. So that they want to stop. Your donation to other trusts as corporate donation, कहाँ भी application नहीं होगा, and you will claim that you will enjoy the exemption. That was the scenario earlier. Now it has been amended. Explanation 2 has been brought, and explanation 2 says that if you have given any donation to any other trust which is a corpus donation for that trust, then it is not your application. So make the addition. 11(1)(b) is that डीम्ड एप्लीकेशन 10 लाख रुपए एंड में मिले, अगले साल अप्लाई करने थे, अप्लाई नहीं किए, 11(1)(b) में आ गया. 11(3) 5 साल के लिए आपको अक्यूमुलेट करने को दिया, 5 साल खत्म हो गया, आपने यूटिलाइज नहीं किया, 6th ईयर डीम्ड इनकम 11(3). ओके, एनएनएमएस डोनेशंस वी हैव टेकन आउट इन शेड्यूल वीसी, वी हैव टेकन, ये देखिए D3 इन शेड्यूल वीसी हियर आ रहा है, ये इधर आएगा. देन लुक हियर, देयर जस्ट वी सॉ disallowable under section 13(1)(c), 13(1)(d), part E of schedule J. There it will come. 12(2) income chargeable. 12(2) is what? Benefit or service, value of services, medical or educational services given to interested parties. ऑथरच्या मुलाला, ट्रस्टीच्या मुलाला तुम्ही शाळेमध्ये परवानगी दिली शिकायला, त्याला फी घेतली नाही, तर नॉर्मल मुलांच्याकडे किती फी घेतली असती ती किंमत इथं येईल. ट्रस्टी तुमचा हॉस्पिटलमध्ये ऍडमिट झाला, त्याची मेडिकल ट्रीटमेंट फ्री केली कोरोनाची, तर त्याला इतर पेशंटला तुम्ही 2 लाख चार्ज केले असते, तर ट्रस्टीला सुद्धा 2 लाख चार्ज करायला लागले असते. 12(2) खाली इथे ती व्हॅल्यू आपल्याला इथे लिहावी लागते. देन 40A IA आणि 40A3 हे आपल्याला माहिती आहे, आता ट्रस्टला पण लागू होतं. 30% डिसअलाउन्स, अँड कॅश मध्ये पेमेंट केलं तर 48 खाली अबाउट 10,000 रुपीज पर डे पर पर्सन लिमिट. त्याच्यामध्ये फार बोलायची गरज नाही, पण हे सगळे इथे येतील आणि हे सगळं तुमचं इथे होईल. इन्कम चार्जेबल 11.4 म्हणजे बिझनेस इन्कम असेल तर इथं होईल. आणि जर तुम्ही 1023C खाली जर एक्झम्पशन घेणार असाल तर तुमचं ते एक्झम्पशन डायरेक्टली या ठिकाणी येणार आहे बघा. 1023C ट्रिपल आय AC, ट्रिपल आय AD, ट्रिपल आय AE, AB हे सगळं इथं येणार आहे. इट शुड कम डायरेक्टली हिअर. म्हणजे आपण शेड्यूल IE3 IE4 मध्ये जे लिहू ते सगळं इथे येणार आहे. बाकी सगळं काय ऍप्लिकेबल आपल्याला नाही. ते पॉलिटिकल पार्टी वगैरे मी काय डिस्कस करणार नाही. आणि हे सगळं झाल्यानंतर इथे येते बघा, इन्कम फ्रॉम हाऊस प्रॉपर्टी, प्रॉफिट्स अँड गेन्स आणि अदर सोर्सेस वगैरे सगळं ते मग शेड्यूल ह्याच्यामध्ये यायला लागलेलं. कशामध्ये? शेड्यूल TI आपलं टोटल इन्कम आपण बघतोय त्याच्यामध्ये हे सगळं यायला लागलेलं. सो दिस इज द वे इट इज कॅल्क्युलेटेड, व्हेरी सिस्टमॅटिक वे दे आर डुइंग इट. आपल्यालाच फक्त ते व्यवस्थित कळलं पाहिजे आणि आपण जर व्यवस्थित भरलं तर देन देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी प्रॉब्लेम. हे जे स्लाइड्स आहेत त्या टॅक्स बेस मधले हे प्रिंटआउट्स हे आहेत, स्क्रीनशॉट्स आहेत, बट आय विल नॉट एक्सप्लेन देम नाउ. दिस थिंग्स आर ओके नाउ. Okay, so we have seen now in great detail now ITR 7 we have seen details of projects or institutions which are running you must give. म्हणजे जर तुमच्या इन्स्टिट्यूशन्स वेगळ्या वेगळ्या असतील, आता बघा शेड्यूल IE3 मध्ये तुम्ही म्हणणार की मी सबस्टॅन्शियली फायनान्स मध्ये गव्हर्नमेंट आणि प्रत्येक इन्स्टिट्यूशनचं वेगळं द्यायला पाहिजे, ते तुम्ही शेड्यूल IE3 मध्ये देणारच. पण देर इज सेपरेट टेबल फॉर प्रोजेक्ट्स और इन्स्टिट्यूशन्स रन बाय यू. तिथे पण त्या तुम्हाला मेन्शन करायला पाहिजे, नाहीतर परत इंटरनल कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन. इन्स्टिट्यूशन्स रन बाय यू तिथे द्या आणि परत इथं प्रत्येक इन्स्टिट्यूशनचं वेगळ्या ग्रॉस रिसीट्स द्या, वेगळा ग्रांट द्या आणि ते मोर दॅन 50% आहे दाखवून द्या. ऑलराईट. शेड्यूल के. शेड्यूल के हा असा शेड्यूल आहे की ज्याच्यामुळे ITR 7 भरणं इज इम्पॉसिबल. म्हणजे इफ एनीवन कॅन क्लेम ऑन दिस अर्थ दॅट आय कॅन फाईल ITR 7 100% करेक्ट, देन मी त्याची पाठ थोपटेन. हे भरताच येणे शक्य नाहीये. त्याचं कारण बघा, आपल्याला कोणाकोणाचे पर्टिक्युलर शेड्यूल के मध्ये द्यायचे आहेत. पर्टिक्युलर्स मध्ये काय द्यायचं आहे बघा, त्या माणसाचं नाव द्यायचं आहे, त्या माणसाचा मला वाटतंय पॅन द्यायचा आहे आणि त्याचा ऍड्रेस द्यायचा आहे. आता हे सगळ्या गोष्टी कोणाकोणाचं द्यायचं आहे? ऑथर, अंडरस्टँड, फाउंडर, मान्य आहे, ट्रस्टीज. मला प्रश्न एक विचारला गेलाय की सगळ्या, समजा माझे 15 ट्रस्टी असतील तर 15च्या 15 ट्रस्टींचं द्यायचं आहे का? तर सगळ्या ट्रस्टींचं द्यायचं आहे. फक्त केवळ एकच मॅनेजिंग ट्रस्टी आहे त्याचं देऊन चालेल का? चालणार नाही. ऍक्च्युली ऍज पर रूल्स तुम्ही सगळ्या ट्रस्टींचं द्यायला पाहिजे. मॅनेजर ती सगळी इन्फॉर्मेशन द्यायला पाहिजे. सगळ्यात महत्वाचं जे मला, आणि ह्या सगळ्यांच्या रिलेटिव्हचं पण द्यायला लागतंय. ह्या सगळ्यांच्या रिलेटिव्हचं पण द्यायला लागतं. आता ट्रस्टी 14 आहेत, त्यांचे रिलेटिव्ह. आता रिलेटिव्हची डेफिनेशन म्हणजे काय? आता इन्कम टॅक्स मध्ये 3 व्याख्या दिल्या रिलेटिव्हच्या. 48(2)A मध्ये वेगळी व्याख्या आहे, 56(2) मध्ये वेगळी व्याख्या आहे आणि सेक्शन 13 मध्ये आणखी एक वेगळी व्याख्या आहे. तर कुठली व्याख्या घ्यायची, रिलेटिव्हची व्याख्या कुठली घ्यायची हा विषय. तर सेक्शन 2 मधली रिलेटिव्हची व्याख्या घेऊ आपण. त्याच्यामध्ये रिलेटिव्ह काय डिफाईन केलंय, तर ब्रदर सिस्टर, हजबंड वाईफ, ब्रदर सिस्टर अँड लिनियर असकेंडेंट अँड डिस्केंडेंट. एवढं स्मॉर्ट लिहिले बरं, तेवढंच समजा आपण, तेवढं आहे असं समजू. आता समजा 15 ट्रस्टी असतील तर त्यांच्या सगळ्या ट्रस्टींची माहिती मी द्यायची आहे, वेदर त्या ट्रस्टींच्या कडनं काय रिलेटिव्हना काय बेनिफिट दिलाय किंवा नसला तरी ते द्यायचं आहे. बरं, हेही एक वेळ आपण समजू शकतो. ते ट्रस्टी समजा 15 आहेत, त्यांच्या प्रत्येकाचे समजा 4-5 रिलेटिव्ह आहेत. ते 4-5 मध्ये भागणार नाही. लिनियल असकेंडेंट आणि डिस्केंडेंट म्हणजे खाली 7व्या पायरीपर्यंत आणि वरच्या कितव्या पायरीपर्यंत म्हणजे आजोबा असतील, आजी असेल, काय असेल ते सगळं द्यायला पाहिजे. म्हणजे नियमानुसार द्यायला पाहिजे. आपण देत नाही हा भाग वेगळा. सबस्टॅन्शियल कॉन्ट्रीब्युटर. आता सबस्टॅन्शियल कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन कोणाला म्हणतात बघा, सेक्शन 13(3)B मध्ये, एनी पर्सन whose total contribution up to the end of the relevant previous year exceeds 50,000. म्हणजे 1925 ला जर ते देवस्थान स्थापन झालं असेल आणि 1925 पासून दररोज 8 आणे मी जर त्याला कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन देत आलो असेल, 1925 पासून आज अखेर मी त्याला दररोज 8 आणे कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन देत आलो असेल, तर माझे आज 50,000 रुपये झाले असण्याची शक्यता आहे. तर माझ्या बाबतीतली सगळी इन्फॉर्मेशन त्या देवालयाचं चॅरिटेबल ट्रस्टचं आपण सेक्शन ITR 7 भरत असताना ती सगळी इन्फॉर्मेशन देणे आवश्यक आहे. माझा पॅन नंबर द्यायला पाहिजे, माझा ऍड्रेस द्यायला पाहिजे, माझं नाव द्यायला पाहिजे. सो दॅट इज वाय आय से filing schedule K in its completeness, in its exhaustiveness is something which is almost impossible. आता ह्याच्या बाबतीत आपण काय करायचं, ट्रस्टिंगचे सगळे डिटेल्स द्यायचे अँड बी डन विथ इट. नाही विचारलं तर सांगायचं हो राहिलं तर काय करायचं. पण हे इम्पॉसिबल आहे. मला असं म्हणायचं आहे की इट इज इम्पॉसिबल. 50,000 ज्यांचं डोनेशन एका वर्षात त्या वर्षात दिलेल्या लोकांचं सांगणं हे सोपं आहे हो, पण ट्रस्ट स्थापन झाल्यापासून त्या माणसाने आज अखेर असा डिटेल्स पण आपल्याकडे असत नाही. म्हणजे त्या ट्रस्टच्या कारकिर्दीमध्ये, त्या ट्रस्टच्या लाईफ मध्ये त्या माणसानं, पर्टिक्युलर माणसानं आज अखेर किती कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन दिलेलं आहे, ते 50,000 पेक्षा जास्त झालंय का नाही, त्याची सगळी माहिती इथे द्यायला पाहिजे. आणि शिवाय त्याच्या रिलेटिव्हची माहिती द्यायला पाहिजे. आणि रिलेटिव्ह म्हणजे ब्रदर, सिस्टर, हजबंड, वाईफ अँड लिनियल असेंडंट अँड डिस्केंडंट. आता कसं शक्य सांगा बघूया हे मला. समथिंग विच इज व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट, व्हेरी इम्पॉसिबल. आय डोंट अंडरस्टँड व्हॉट इज द इंटेन्शन. आणि हे सगळी माहिती घेऊन काय करणार आणि कशासाठी, रिअली नॉट अंडरस्टूड. बिकॉज possibly they want to identify the disallowed under section 13(3)(b). ओके, सेक्शन 13(1)(d) और 1(c) चा जो डिसअलाउन्स आहे, तो डिसअलाउन्स फॉर्म 10(b) मध्ये ऑडिटर कडून सर्टिफाय केला जातोच. तसं असताना ही सगळी इन्फॉर्मेशन हिथं काय द्यायची हे मला कळत नाही. किंवा व्हाय आर यू मेकिंग द फॉर्म टू बी फाइल्ड प्रॉपरली impossible for the filer? Because anytime your income tax return, anytime it can be called as incomplete and it can be called as defective return, and you will be not given the benefit of section 11. एवढं अवघड आहे सगळं. पण ओके, दॅट इज हाऊ इट इज. आता 1023C बद्दल बऱ्यापैकी बोललो मी. 50 रूल BBB, 2 BBB and 5 crore and 5 crore हे वगैरे सगळं आपण बोललो. एज्युकेशनल होली अँड सबस्टॅन्शियली फायनान्स, हॉस्पिटल होली अँड सबस्टॅन्शियली फायनान्स, सबस्टॅन्शियली म्हणजे 50% जास्त, आणि ग्रॉस रिसीट्स 5 crore, IIIAD, IIIAE या पर्टिक्युलर सेक्शन्स खाली आपण एक्झम्पशन घेणार आहे. 10AB, 10AC, 10AD आणि 10AE. AB आणि AC मध्ये असेल तर शेड्यूल IE3 भरणार आहोत आपण, बघितलं आपण मगाशी. सबस्टॅन्शियली फायनान्स मध्ये गव्हर्नमेंट. आणि जर आपण एडी आणि एई मध्ये घेणार असू, एज्युकेशनल आहोत, मेडिकल आहोत आणि ग्रॉस रिसीट 5 कोटी पर्यंत आहेत, तर आपल्याला शेड्यूल IE4 भरता येते आणि अकॉर्डिंगली वी आर गोइंग टू प्रोसीड. ऑल राईट. 21-22 पासून 1 कोटी, त्याच्यानंतर 5 कोटी हा रूल आपल्याला लागू होणार आहे. सो वी आर गोइंग टू अंडरस्टँड दिस. आणि ह्याच्याबाबतची जी अमेंडमेंट आहे ती पण आपण डिटेलमध्ये डिस्कशन करणार आहोत. आता हे जे आता आपण बघितलं, IIIAB, IIIAC, AD आणि AE, one must while filing ITR 7, one must first check, am I eligible for 11 IIIAB, AC, AD or AE? And if I am anyway fulfilling the criteria of any of this section, then instead of going for section 11, I repeat, instead of claiming exemption under section 11, you should claim exemption here, because that is more beneficial, that is more simpler. You don't have to give so many details. ऑल राईट. शेड्यूल AI भरायला लागत नाही आपल्याला, शेड्यूल ER भरायला लागत नाही, शेड्यूल EC भरायला लागत नाही, शेड्यूल BTI टोटल इन्कम मध्ये फक्त एकच आयटम येतो, तो तेवढा तिथे लिहायचा असतो, बाकीचं काही भरायला लागत नाही. आणि बाकीच्या बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी आपल्याला भरायला लागत नाही. इकडे बघा, या शेड्यूल स्लाइड मध्ये बघा, म्हणजे विशेषतः शाळांची रिटर्न्स आपण भरतो. एज्युकेशनल ट्रस्ट ज्या बऱ्याचशा आपल्याकडे ज्या शाळा आहेत, त्या शाळा सबस्टॅन्शियली फाईन, त्यांना गव्हर्नमेंट ग्रांट मिळते. टीचर्सची सॅलरीची ग्रांट सबस्टॅन्शियली असते, आणि त्या टीचरची ग्रांटच एवढी असते की जवळजवळ एकूण ग्रॉस रिसीटच्या 90% जास्त आपण आपलं ग्रॉस रिसीट मध्ये ग्रांट्सच असतात. आणि असं असल्यामुळं इट इज व्हेरी सिम्पल फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस टू क्लेम द एक्झम्पशन अंडर सेक्शन 1023C IIIAB. आपण हे एक्झम्पशन घेऊ शकतो की नाही हे पहिल्यांदा बघा, आणि नंतर मग पुढचा विचार करायचा. याच्यात बसलो तर हेच, मग पुढचं काही नाही. 11 वगैरे काय जायचं नाही, 12चं रजिस्ट्रेशन वगैरे बघायची गरज नाही, ह्याला काय रजिस्ट्रेशन वगैरे काय लागत नाही, आज देखील लागत नाही, याच्यानंतर सुद्धा अजून तरी लागणार नाही. कायद्यामध्ये कुठेच ती काय आवश्यकता नाहीये. त्यामुळे इफ यू आर एलिजिबल टू claim, you are fulfilling the criteria of any of these 4 subsections, then please choose them and then accordingly file the returns. Don't go to anything else. Your life is going to be very simple, simpler at least. आता ह्याच्यामध्ये बघा, नो रजिस्ट्रेशन हे जर आपण चूज केलं, मग अशी जे 4 सेक्शन जागी चूज केले, तर नो रजिस्ट्रेशन अप्रुव्हल इज रिक्वायर्ड. 85% स्पेंड करण्याची आवश्यकता नाहीये, अक्युम्युलेशनची आवश्यकता नाही, 9A भरायला पाहिजे, 10 भरायला पाहिजे, 10B भरायला पाहिजे, काही गरज नाहीये. फायलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न्स मॅन्डेटरी आता झालंय, 18-19 पासून मॅन्डेटरी झालेलं आहे. पण जर समजा चुकून नाही फाईल झालं तर काय होईल, माझं एक्झम्पशन जाईल का नाही जाणार, आय रिपीट, बिकॉज एक्झम्पशन अंडर सेक्शन 10 हे जे मागचे जे सेक्शन्स आहेत ना, मी आता बघितलेले हे जे सेक्शन्स आहेत, या सेक्शनचा उल्लेख सेक्शन 12A मध्ये नाहीये. 12A आपण मगाशी BA बघितलं, अगदी सुरुवातीच्या साईडला 139(4A चूज करतोय मी, तर त्यावेळेला मला या सगळ्या कंडिशन, पण मी 139(4C चूज केलं, आणि तर मला फायलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न 18-19 पासून मॅन्डेटरी झाले. जर समजा मॅन्डेटरी म्हणजे काय, पण त्याच्यामुळे माझं एक्झम्पशन जाणार आहे का? एक्झम्पशन जात नाही. एक्झम्पशन, आय रिपीट, एक्झम्पशन जात नाही. फक्त काय होईल, 272A मला वाटते सबसेक्शन 1 आणि नंतर क्लास जी आहे वाटतं, ते दिवसाला 100 रुपये ते 200 रुपये पेनल्टी, मिनिमम 100 रुपीज आणि मॅक्सिमम 200 रुपीज ही जी पेनल्टी आहे, ती पेनल्टी मात्र तुम्हाला लागू शकते फॉर डिलेड फायलिंग ऑफ रिटर्न. बट एक्झम्पशन आपलं जात नाही. म्हणजे चुकून एखाद्या ट्रस्टचं रिटर्न भरायचं राहिलं तर पहिल्यांदा बघा आपण त्या सेक्शन मध्ये बसतो का, 5 crore or सबस्टॅन्शियली फायनल, त्यात झालं तर आनंद आहे, काय प्रॉब्लेम नाही, टेन्शन घ्यायचं कारण नाही. हे आपण एक्झम्पशन आपल्याला मिळणार आहे. फक्त आपल्याला रिटर्न भरायचं राहिलं राहू देत, 148 ची नोटीस आली तर ते एक्झम्पशन घेऊन रिटर्न 148 रिटर्न भरा, काही प्रॉब्लेम नाही. फक्त एवढं होईल की तुम्हाला ही पेनल्टी लागण्याची शक्यता आहे, मग तुम्हाला रिजनेबल क्लॉज वगैरे सगळ्या गोष्टी वापरता येतील. आणि बऱ्याचशा टर्म्स अँड कंडिशन्स ऍप्लिकेबल नाही. बघा, प्रिस्क्राइब मोड्स ऑफ इन्व्हेस्टमेंट सेक्शन 11.5 ऍप्लिकेबल नाही आहे. सेपरेट बिझनेस साठी सेपरेट बुक्स ठेवायला पाहिजे, हे ऍप्लिकेबल नाही आहे. फायलिंग ऑडिट रिपोर्ट मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं 10B भरायची गरज नाही आहे. त्यानंतर 40A 340I चे डिसअलाउन्स ऍप्लिकेबल नाही आहेत. त्यानंतर डोनेशन टू अदर ट्रस्ट नॉट टेकन ऍज ऍप्लिकेशन, बिकॉज इथं ऍप्लिकेशनचा विषयच नाही. आपण सबस्टॅन्शियली फायनान्स्ड आहोत, नाहीतर आपल्या ग्रॉस लेस दॅन 5 crore आहे. त्यामुळे ऍप्लिकेशन हा विषय इथे बघितलाच जात नाही. त्यामुळे 40A 3, 40A डोनेशन टू अदर ट्रस्ट एज कॉर्पोरेट डोनेशन वगैरे वगैरे सगळं काही नाही आहे. आता खाली एक नोट आहे 11, हे कर्नाटक हायकोर्ट, लिमिट ऑफ 1 crore रुपीज इज पर इन्स्टिट्यूशन. याच्याबाबत मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं की सेक्शन इन्कम टॅक्स रिटर्न इटसेल्फ आस्क यू द इन्फॉर्मेशन अबाउट पर इन्स्टिट्यूशन, सो अकॉर्डिंगली वी हॅव टू गो. अप्रुव्हलचं हे आहे इथं ज्यांचा कोणाचं 4, 5, 6 आणि 6A ह्याच्यामध्ये तो म्हणजे तुम्हाला 1023C जर घ्यायचा असेल इन्स्टेड ऑफ सेक्शन 11 तर तुम्ही हे घेऊ शकता, बिकॉज सेक्शन 1023C इज सिम्पलर दॅन सेक्शन 11 इन सम टर्म्स. बट ते कंपॅरिझन मी आता डिस्कशन मध्ये घेत नाही, पुन्हा कधीतरी घेता येईल, पण त्याप्रमाणे हे घ्यायला पाहिजे. सो फार एज दिस रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ दिस पीपल आर कन्सर्न, इट इज नाव ऍट पूर्वी सेक्शन फॉर्म 56 भरायला पाहिजे. त्यानंतर रिटर्न वर्ष संपल्यानंतर 30 सप्टेंबर पर्यंत भरायची मुदत होती. 30 सप्टेंबर पर्यंत जरी भरलं तरी तुम्हाला पूर्ण वर्षाचं म्हणजे मागच्या संपूर्ण वर्षाला तुम्हाला ते हे मिळत होतं, एक्झम्पशन मिळत होतं 1023. हे सगळं आता गेलेलं आहे. आणि नाव इट इज ओनली फॉर्म 10A, combined form for all, and accordingly we have discussed this in our earlier session. All procedure as in case of section 12A registration, everything has to be accordingly followed. Now we go to the recent amendment so far as charitable trusts are concerned. Okay, now the first is with respect to section 11(1)D, that is corpus donation. आता मगाशी आपण हे सगळं बघितलं, शेड्यूल BTI मध्ये सुद्धा पहिली लाईन आहे, काय आहे, कॉर्पस डोनेशन. ते कुठे पुढे कॅल्क्युलेशनला घेत नाहीत. का घेत नाहीत तर बिकॉज कॉर्पस डोनेशन इज कॉर्पस डोनेशन, इट्स अ डेड, इट इज मीन फॉर दॅट स्पेसिफिक पर्पज, बिल्डिंग कन्स्ट्रक्शन, जीर्णोद्धार वगैरे जे काय असेल ते. आणि सेक्शन 11(1)D खाली त्याचं पूर्ण एक्झम्पशन असतं, त्याचं ऍप्लिकेशन वगैरे सगळा विषय पूर्वी नव्हता. आता 1/4/2021 पासून मात्र त्याच्या ऍप्लिकेशन कडे सुद्धा इन्कम टॅक्सचं लक्ष आता गेलेलं आहे. आता ते लक्ष काय गेलेलं आहे तर दे हॅव इन्सर्टेड one explanation to section 11(1), and as per this explanation conditions काय घातलेत बघा. corporate donation shall be exempt subject to the following condition. 1, that such voluntary contributions are invested, म्हणजे त्यासाठी वापर करा, or deposited in forms or more specified in section 11(5), maintained specifically for such purpose. म्हणजे बिल्डिंग फंड असेल तर बिल्डिंग फंडाच्या FD वेगळ्या पाहिजेत, बॅलन्स शीट मध्ये दोन्ही वेगळं वेगळं दिसलं पाहिजे. या साईडला बिल्डिंग फंड आणि या साईडला बिल्डिंग फंड फिक्स डिपॉझिट, मेंटेन स्पेसिफिकली. ऑलराईट. आणि हे जर तुम्ही केलं नाही तर तुम्हाला काहीच एक्झम्पशन मिळणार नाही. इव्हन 15% बेसिक एक्झम्पशन पण तुम्हाला मिळणार नाही. हे जे मेंटेन स्पेसिफिकली आहे ना, तर तुम्हाला 1 लाख रुपये डोनेशन मिळालं, कॉर्पस डोनेशन मिळालं, तर असं नाहीये की तुम्ही 85,000 फक्त इन्व्हेस्ट करायचे. ते 15% बेसिक एक्झम्पशन नाही आहे. 1 लाखाचे 1 लाख संपूर्ण इन्व्हेस्ट करायचे आहेत. ही नवीन कंडिशन आलेली आहे. पुढचं काय कंडिशन आहे, ऍप्लिकेशन आउट ऑफ कॉर्पस शॉल नॉट बी कन्सिडर्ड ऍज ऍप्लिकेशन. हे लक्षात घ्या, सगळ्यात महत्वाचं आहे. म्हणजे मला 1 लाख रुपये डोनेशन मिळाले, ओके, कॉर्पस डोनेशन मिळालं, बॅलन्स शीटच्या लायबिलिटी शीटला बिल्डिंग फंड 1 लाख रुपये, ओके, मी माझ्या नेहमीच्या अकाउंट मध्ये ते डोनेशन आलं, मी ते वापरलं, ठीक आहे. पुढे काय झालं, ते 1 लाख रुपये मी माझ्या रेग्युलर एस्टॅब्लिशमेंट एक्सपेन्सेस, ऍडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव्ह एक्सपेन्सेस किंवा माझ्या ऑब्जेक्ट साठी वापरलं, बिल्डिंग बांधलीच नाही. असं जर असेल तर मात्र हे ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून धरलं जाणार नाही. ऍप्लिकेशन आउट ऑफ कॉर्पस shall not be considered as application explanation 4.1 to section 11.1. आता या ठिकाणी याचा इम्पॅक्ट असा आहे की यू हॅव टू हॅव अ प्रॉपर अनालिसिस, प्रॉपर अकाउंटिंग इफेक्ट. आता हे जर समजा मी असं म्हटलं की ह्या 1 लाख रुपये मला बिल्डिंग बांधकामासाठी डोनेशन मिळाले, पण त्यातून मी घेतला कॉम्प्युटर. मला आधी कॉम्प्युटरची आवश्यकता होती, सगळं कॉम्प्युटराइज करायचं होतं म्हणून मी कॉम्प्युटर घेतला. तर त्याचा कसा इफेक्ट होतो बघा. आता जर मी 1 लाखाचा कॉम्प्युटर घेतला असेल तर दॅट 1 lakh रुपीज विल नॉट गो टू शेड्यूल EC. एक्सपेंडिचर कॅपिटल मध्ये ते जाणार नाही. ते एक्सपेंडिचर कॅपिटल म्हणून कन्सिडर केलं जाणार नाही, ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून कन्सिडर केलं जाणार नाही. आता ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून कन्सिडर केलं नाही जाणार नाही, पण माझ्या बुक्स मध्ये मात्र ती कॉम्प्युटर म्हणून असेट दिसणार. मी त्याच्यावर रेग्युलर अकाउंटिंग स्टँडर्ड्स, अकाउंटिंग प्रिन्सिपल प्रमाणे त्याच्यावर डेप्रिसिएशन घेणार. आता हे डेप्रिसिएशन मला ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून मिळेल की नाही, त्याचं उत्तर होय असं आहे. Section 11.6 does not allow you depreciation from assessment year 15-16 only on those assets whose acquisition has been claimed as application. आता इथे मला 1 लाख रुपये कॉम्प्युटर घेतला, ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून ट्रीट केलं जाणार नाही, त्यामुळे 11.6 मला ऍप्लिकेबल होणार नाही. आणि बिकॉज इट इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी टेकन ऍज ऍप्लिकेशन, आय एम इलिजिबल फॉर डेप्रिसिएशन ऑन इट, विच विल बी टेकन ऍज ऍप्लिकेशन ऑफ इन्कम. आणि त्यासाठी आपल्याकडे डिसिजन वगैरे पूर्वीचे आहेत जे आता या सिनारिओ मध्ये ऍप्लिकेबल लागू होतील. आता रिस्टोरिंग कॉर्पस, समजा मी 1 लाखाचं मी हे घेतलं, काय घेतलं, कॉम्प्युटर घेतला, पण मी बिल्डिंग फंडासाठी घेतलेले होते. मला अजून 10 लाख रुपये पाहिजे आणि हे 10 लाख रुपये साठेपर्यंत मला काय करायला पाहिजे, बिल्डिंग उगाच कशाला मी बिल्डिंगचं बांधकाम चालू करू. जर 1 लाख रुपये आहेत आणि माझं एस्टिमेट 10 लाखाचं आहे, तर बांधकाम मी चालू कसं करणार. पण समजा पुढच्या वर्षात 9 लाख रुपये मिळाले मला, तर मागच्या वर्षातले 1 लाख आणि ह्या वर्षाचे 9 लाख रुपये, मागच्या वर्षी मी घेतलाय कॉम्प्युटर, पण या वर्षी 9 लाख रुपये परत बिल्डिंग फंडासाठी मिळाले. परत मागच्या वर्षी बिल्डिंग फंडातले 1 लाख रुपये माझ्याकडे, दे आर एक्सपेक्टेड टू बी विथ मी. सो दिस इयर आय स्पेंड 10 lakh rupees either on building construction or 10 lakh rupees I specifically invest as fixed deposit building fund. Then what I am doing is I am restoring the corpus. So when I restore the corpus, then that restoring, जसं borrowed fund मधनं केलेलं युटिलायझेशन आपल्याला ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून मिळत नाही, पण repayment of loan is considered as application. Here also the same logic or principle is being used, that restoring the corpus will be considered to be an application. Corpus previously applied on the object of the trust, मगाशी आपण म्हटलं कॉम्प्युटर घेतला, such application is not treated as application. बघितलं आपल्याला त्या ऍप्लिकेशन म्हणून घेतलं नाही म्हणून डेप्रिसिएशन घेतलं. पण in later period income is utilized to restore the corpus by investing in or deposit back into permissible modes. असं जर झालं, then such investment deposit shall be maintained specifically for such corpus. या सगळ्या कंडिशन जर आपण अप्लाय हे केल्या, then we will be eligible to claim the restoration of the corpus even as application. This is the new amendment. Income so utilized shall be allowed as application to the extent it is invested and deposited back in the year of utilization or investment. So this is a provision to explanation 4.1 to section 11.1. त्यानंतर लोन्स अँड बॉरोइंग, आता बरंचसं डिस्कस केलं आपण इथं, पण हा कायदा कधी आलाय, आता आला. मी तुम्हाला मागचं सगळं दाखवलं की आतापर्यंत सुद्धा सीपीसी किंवा इन्कम टॅक्स डिपार्टमेंट से दॅट application out of borrowed funds will not be considered to be application. But the कायद्यामध्ये स्पेसिफिकता कधी आली, तर आता आली, या फायनान्स ऍक्ट 2021 मध्ये आली. Now they are saying by specific explanation 4.2 to section 11.1 that application from loans and borrowing shall not be considered as application of income for charitable purposes for the purpose of section 11.1. ह्या कायदा आता आला. पूर्वी सुद्धा हे डिसिजन्स आहेत, where they have considered such application is not to be an application, but anyway there was a room to fight, but now the law has become clear and now they are saying, हेच मला मगाशी सांगायचं होतं की फॉर्मॅट बाय ITR 7 also specifically excluded such utilization out of borrowing from quantum of application by way of deduction. आपण बघितलं की utilization out of borrow fund is not considered as application. So here my question was whether when the law is amended now, what about earlier years, and whether ITR 7 was in accordance with the law. So we find that even the ITR 7 which the department was having with us, or we were filing, that was not in consonance with the actual provisions of the law. Even in the absence of even these provisions, they were not allowing us the utilization out of the borrowed funds. Now repayment of the loan is taken, we have seen repayment of loan now is taken as application because utilization out of the borrowed funds is not taken as application, so repayment is taken as application. Now the law and the ITR 7 both are in harmony with each other, they are matching with each other, right? So repayment is taken as application. Now this is another amendment, the setup of application of एक्सेस ऍप्लिकेशन. म्हणजे मगाशी मी सांगितलं की 100 रुपये माझ्याकडे आहेत आणि मी खर्च केले 90 रुपये आणि मी परमनंट अक्युमुलेशन 15 करतो, म्हणजे मी 5 रुपये एक्सेस ऍप्लिकेशन केलेलं आहे. वेदर दॅट 5 रुपीज एक्सेस ऍप्लिकेशन ऑफ द अर्लियर इयर्स कॅन इट बी कन्सिडर्ड टू बी or can it be reduced or can it be considered to be application for this year. आता याच्या बाबतीत कसं झालं होतं की there was decision of the Supreme Court in the Subros Educational Society and also Rajasthan Gujarat Charitable Foundation Pune, ह्या दोन्ही केस मध्ये it said that yes, excess spent of earlier years can be taken forward and can be considered to be application of the current year. म्हणजे आपण जशी कॅरी फॉरवर्ड आणि ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉसची जी सेटअप जी कन्सेप्ट आहे ना, ती सेम कन्सेप्ट इथे पण अप्लाय व्हायला पाहिजे असं असेसिंगचं कंटेन्शन होतं आणि त्याप्रमाणे दिस पर्टिक्युलर आर्ग्युमेंट वॉज अपहेल्ड बाय द सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन द टू डिसिजन्स. To nullify this proposition, now we have explanation 5 to section 11(1). Now it is specific that in computation of income, no set-off or deduction of any excess application of any of the preceding years shall be allowed. So stop. So this benefit of these sections will not be applicable to us now. Now there is one more thing. We just saw that donation by exempt entities out of the accumulation to another charitable trust. म्हणजे माझ्याकडे 15% जे राहतं ते मी जर दुसऱ्या चॅरिटेबल ट्रस्टला दिलं तर that will not be considered to be application. Or for example, माझ्याकडे 10 लाख रुपये फॅग एंडला आले आणि पुढच्या वर्षी मला ते खर्च करायचे आहेत, पण त्यातनं खर्च न करता मी जर डोनेशन दिलं तर that will not be considered to be an application. Similarly, मगाशी सांगितल्याप्रमाणे I have income and I give that as donation to another charitable trust as corpus donation, म्हणजे मी स्पेंड केल्यासारखं होणार आणि